Hi everybody, this is Diana here and I'm very happy today because we have a very special guest. Her name is Dani Oxer and she's a stress management specialist and she's here to talk to us about stress, anxiety, how can we deal with it, but also how can we deal with stress with our kids. So thank you so much, Dani, for being here with us. I believe this is a very important topic and I'm very grateful that you decided to participate.
Thank you so much for the invitation, and I'm really happy to be here. Just my voice, I have a cold, so I have this sexy voice today, but it's good. I hope you can all understand what I have to say.
You sound great. You sound great. Thank you so much, Dani. So before we jump and start with the conversation, I just want to address why we decided to talk about this. It doesn't matter if we just arrived to our country, or maybe we are planning to move into another country, or we've already stood for several years. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the responsibilities, our schedule, the time, the changes that we have in our lives are super stressful and maybe are higher in potential when we are in a foreign country, when we don't really have links or connections that are very supportive to us, like our family or friends back in our countries. So we decided to talk about this because we are not only victims of these kind of feelings like stress or anxiety, but also for other people who are parents, this can be a very, very difficult topic. So, Dani, why don't you just introduce yourself a little bit more, tell us what you do, and after that we can start with this discussion, please.
Mm-hmm. So, I'm an immigrant, right? I live here in Montreal and I'm originally from Brazil. So I've been here for 8 years. I'm a biologist, so I did biology as an undergrad. And I like to joke that I was climbing the academic ladder. So I did PhD and I did another postdoc and I did another postdoc and I worked at the university here in Montreal for a few years. And then I decided that I wanted to change. I gave everything I had to academia and now I wanted to work with people. So I did a coaching course at a university here and I specialize on stress management, so I can bring my background in science, all the science behind stress management, and that's my specialty. So I've been coaching people with stress, with anxiety, with burnout, but I also been coaching people in transition. So in transition to retirement, in time management, and all that involves a little bit of stress. Any change that we have in our lives, there's stress, right? And if we know how to deal with it better, it's better for any kind of change that we have in our lives. And immigration is it's like a big change. And not just, like you said, the connections that we don't have in the new country, but we don't know how things work.
Exactly.
Right? It's like how people think. They think differently, right? So it's a really challenging. And even if we stay here, I'm here for 8 years, I'm always learning something new.
Definitely.
Like we were talking a little bit before, it's very difficult to define the difference between stress and anxiety. It's fairly the same thing. So the feeling in your body is usually the same thing, but it varies a lot. So some people can have like heart racing, some people can have more sweating, some people can have more tight muscles. You know, it depends from each person to each person. The stress response, what happens physiologically in your body, is the same. And the difference between stress and anxiety is the social concept. So it's how you're thinking about the situation. We also can define anxiety as a uneasiness to do in the moment, when you feel unease, when you feel some discomfort. But also I found the definition that's like it's eagerness to do something. So you can see as anxiety as something positive. It blends to excitement. When you're excited, you also have your heart pounding and your hands sweating, right? Or when you're going on your first date, right? You're excited, but you feel all that stress. So then we connect to our thoughts. What are we thinking about? What are we thinking about makes the experience. That's what defines if the experience is bad or if the experience is good.
I love what you're saying about anxiety as a positive thing. Actually,
Yeah.
in English, the expression is "I'm so anxious to blah." So, yeah, I totally understand it. But how do we manage it? Because sometimes even positive anxiety can affect other things in our lives.
My focus on my work, like I talk about managing stress and managing anxiety, but the focus that I like the most is the changing your mindset about stress and anxiety. That's what I really love to talk about, because when you think that stress is going to help you perform better, so in the case of immigrants, that we have to put ourselves out there so many times, right? When we're looking for a new job, maybe we don't speak the language perfectly, or we don't know what they expect. When we are in our country, we know like the social the in between the line. It's really helpful to focus on stress as good, because if we focus on stress as being good and help you perform better, it makes you more confident. You have to think like, oh, these feelings that I'm feeling, this heart pounding, this muscle tensing, the hands sweating, it's really signs that this is important for me, and this is going to make me perform better. This is going to pump blood to my brain. It's going to make me focus. It's going to make me remember everything. And it's a fake it until you make it kind of thing, because in the beginning maybe the feeling is so uncomfortable that you just want to do something to reduce it. And the thing is that we cannot reduce it because it is a stressful situation, right? It is a stressful situation going to a job interview. So you're not going to be able to reduce it. So when you try to reduce it, it's really a waste of energy. It's better to try to find this energy to act, like act and build your confidence and things like that. So I really like this definition of anxiety as eagerness to do something. It really helped me with my performance. Like giving presentations for me was really challenging, and seeing stress like that, it can be really helpful.
Like always think about anxiety as a trigger instead of a paralyzer, right?
Oh yeah.
Because I know people who are passing through an anxiety moment, and instead of being able to rationalize and go through the emotion as you're saying, and then know that this is going to allow me to do something else, it stops them and it freezes them completely. How can they react into this kind of paralysis?
I think what makes us feel paralyzed is fear, right? And usually the discomfort of the feeling. So you have to change your relationship with how you feel in your body, how anxiety feels in your body, right? So get to know that first. For me, it's usually heart pounding and a lot of sweating. So be comfortable with that. Be like, okay, this happens because I am in a stressful situation. So how it's giving me energy. So how can I use this energy? And if you tell yourself that over and over and over again, at some point it changes. It changes the way you see it. But you have to practice, and it's not nothing related to stress and anxiety is like, right? Like you're going to do once and things will change completely. It's really a practice and a learning about yourself and learning how to deal with situations.
Okay, so, but for example, even if we are aware of what we are feeling and all the things are and components of our anxiety or stress, when can we notice that our stress is being a problem in our lives?
It is too often that we have this stress, right? It's too much, too often. then it can become chronic stress. So that's when we have to maybe use strategies to try to manage the stress. So seeing stress as good is one way that can help managing stress in performance, for example, right? When we are going to, as an immigrant, when we are going to a job interview, when you're going to talk to someone you don't know, you know, like these things like that. But when you are stressed in the middle of the night, right, you have anxiety in the middle of the night. So there's other ways to manage, to try to manage the stress. So I would say for adults, when we feel that we are too much stressed too often, and if we're talking like going a little bit with the kids, they don't have words usually to say how they are feeling, right? They cannot express in words that clearly like we can. So if you see your child, like a big red flag, it's avoiding doing something. So it doesn't want to go to school, doesn't want to go I don't know, soccer practice, or doesn't want to try something new. They can complain of stomach ache and headache, and this makes sense because the stress, when you have the stress response, when your heart's pounding, it's the, I can explain a little bit what's the fight and flight response. That's what basically the stress is. So let's just do a side note on that. People say that, oh, it's an outdated system that we have, this fight or flight response, but I don't believe that. I believe that our physiology is the same since we are like early humans living in the savannas, and we change our environment so much. Like we didn't have shelter, and now we have this amazing construction that really can protect us from cold and from any harm. And now we are building strategies to be able to deal with these new stressors using the same system that we have. You just have to change the strategy. So I don't believe that's an outdated system, right? A lot of people say that. So the strategies would be mindfulness, for example, or deep breathing, things that can manage the stress. So talking a little bit the fight or flight response, what happens when we have danger, like in the savannas, you're sleeping outside, there's a saber-toothed tiger that comes to attack you. The heart pounding and the muscles tensing is making you ready to fight the tiger or to run away, right? To really, or freeze. You can freeze, but that's the idea. Or you confront the danger, or you run away. So your muscles are really ready to run away. So all your blood is on your muscles, so you don't have blood to help you digest your food. So that's why kids can complain of stomach aches, because the stress is not really on their the blood's not really on helping their digestion. So it makes sense. So you can, when they complain a lot of stomach ache, you can ring a bell, you know, like, oh, what, maybe there's something else going on. So the danger now, what's the danger? The danger is the deadline. That's what the deadline, or the boss angry at you. So it's this kind of that we call perceived danger, because the deadline is not going to kill you or eat you, right? But it's how you perceive. The body reacts the same way as if you were chased by a tiger. Okay? So we call perceived danger because not real danger, but the system works the same way. So we have to adapt the strategies to manage this stress with perceived danger. So that's basically what stress management is, and is our stress response in our body. Okay. And you asked me I went a little sideways, but you asked me the question, when stress is really bad. So when we are not able to manage it. Okay, so we are not able to unmanage stress. So for us, going back a little bit, repeating a little bit what I say, for us, we can feel, oh, this is stress or this is anxiety. For kids, they don't have words. So you have to be mindful, like when there's a lot of crying, or a lot of clinging, a lot avoidance is really a red flag. When they started like in the body, maybe they don't notice the heart pounding that much, but they complain of stomach ache or headache. That's a red flag as well.
You are telling us about how we affect our kids in several examples that you just gave, but is it a special moment where, for example, in the move or the process of immigration, where our kids are actually affected and they are feeling all the stress, and for us the move has been something natural, so it is actually that we didn't affect them, but they are...
Oh yeah, there's the two things, right? When we are very stressed, it bleeds and it affects our kids. So first, like that mask, like the on the airplane, that you have to put your mask on yourself before putting your child or the person near you. It's really, you have to take care of your stress, because if you're a very stressed person, your child's going to learn that. Okay. Children have their own stresses, like a test is a very stressful thing, right? Or a presentation at school, or making new friends. So I feel immigration can be a huge stressor for kids, and they don't know how to say it, right? They don't know how to express in words. So we can we have to be really mindful of that, really mindful. And the strategy to learn, to find out like what's stressing your child, is really be curious. And instead of like, oh, the kid is avoiding to go to school, I don't want to go to, and you say like, no, you have to go. No, like, what's happening? And why it's the teacher change, or there's a fight in school, or anything that happened. And be mindful that moving with your kids is going to be a huge stressor for them. Just be conscious and mindful of that, and be curious, like, how are you feeling? What can we do about it? You know, like, and ask them questions so you can be aware of what's happening.
Yeah, so for example, in this case, where I ask you, like, maybe I am not stressed, so I can be mindful and I can check on my kids and I can see what's going on with them. But in case I'm actually the person who's stressed and who's going into a lot of anxiety and pressure of having a job, adapting to my new life, finding a new place to live, or maybe having trouble with my first job, or maybe they fired me, whatever it is, the thing, maybe I can be blind on that I'm passing all my stress and my anxiety to all the people around me. So in those cases, for example, I love what you're saying, like, put your mask before you pass it to the kid, because actually, yeah, that would be the easiest and the smartest way to act. But the real of the thing is that when we are going through that stressful moment, we don't really think that, oh yeah, I'm going through a problem, I need to focus and center myself. So how I understand that we have to be mindful, but accepting stress, accepting anxiety is not as easy as it can be. How can we deal with this? How can we accept our vulnerability and start moving on?
Yeah, it's funny, when I give this presentation, I gave a presentation on mindfulness for many parents in different schools, and they like, oh, it's easy, right? Be a centered, and then you're going to help it's easy saying, right? That it's not easy, right? That's why practicing, that's the goal. Practice being centered, practice being mindful. Being mindful, what does that mean? Being the present moment. Because if you're not in the present moment, and we parents, usually we have like an agenda. We are going to do this, and arrive there. And if you're picking up your child at the daycare, it's in the middle, and she has a tantrum, you're not thinking about, oh, how can I mindfully deal with this tantrum? No, you're thinking like, oh, I have to get there, right? And then you get super impatient with that. It's like something that's in the middle of your, so it's practice. So if I would tell you, so Diana, I never jogged in my life, and tomorrow I'm going to run a marathon and I'm going to win. Would you believe me?
I believe that you're going to make your best effort, but I know that you're not going to win.
No.
Maybe you're going to die, actually.
It's a very stupid idea. So that's the metaphor, right? If I want to run a marathon, I'm going to start running, and I never ran before. I'm going to run around the block once, and then I'm going to increase. And when I do, that's when I'm feeling good, right? When I'm feeling well.
Mm-hmm.
So if I tell you when you're very stressed, oh, take a deep breath, it's not going to work. You have to practice deep breathing if that's your thing. There's many strategies. You find what aligns more with what you want. You have to practice when you're feeling good. You have to practice every day a little bit. And then when you're in a stressful situation, when you're in a competition running the marathon, you're going to be able to do it. So there's no magic solution. It's really commitment. What do you want? Do you want to immigrate and be able to deal with all the stresses that you're going to certainly deal with? So start practicing. Choose your tool and practice every day. Doesn't need to be practice for an hour every day. It can be 5 minutes, but every day you need to practice a little bit. So when it comes the marathon, you're going to be able to handle it.
And that's awesome, because you're telling us that this is a prevention method. This is something that has to be like, as in countries where there are earthquakes, for example, they always have a practice on evacuation process.
Uh-huh.
So they are ready for when it happens. They know what to do and they know how to deal with it. Of course, in the middle of the crisis, some rules are going to be broken because, of course, we are humans and of course, we are not robots. But at least the main rules, the main structure of standing up, looking at a safe space, not running, not causing more panic to others, finding the exits, etc., etc. You already know that, and that's going to come to you automatically.
Yeah, that's a great metaphor. I really love it. I never thought of it, and it's really, really great. It makes a lot of sense. It's really having a plan, right? That you're going to say that. So you have your practice. You choose your practice. If your practice is meditation, if your practice is deep breathing is great and it's easy. You can do everywhere. There's so many resources of deep breathing. And
so okay, we prevent it and we act and know how to act when it happens. What if we are in the middle of the storm and we never practiced and we decided to go to this marathon that you said, and we're in the middle of people running at 10 kilometers per hour and we can't even breathe? So how do we contain this crisis?
I just a story came up in my head. I'm going to tell you. I don't know if I'm going to answer your question, but I think you tell me after. So since we are talking about kids, right? They challenge us all the time, right? And it's really challenging to be mindful and centered all the time. So I have a 3.5-year-old daughter, and I'm going to admit here, I yell at her. Like when I'm upset, when she's not listening what I have to say, like I said, like 1, 2, 3, 4 times, I yell, you know? It's not the best, because when you yell, they learn how to yell back. That's what you're teaching them. Yeah. But I lose it. Like everyone loses in a different way, right? So I remember one day, like a few weeks ago, I yelled at her like, oh, like you have to do this, like this, that. And then she just said, don't yell at me. Now she learns like to respond, don't yell at me. And then I took a break. I calmed down. So that's one strategy. Really take yourself out of the situation if it's possible and take a deep breath, you know. And then I came back to her and said, you know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I yelled at you. I shouldn't have. But when you're just say that you're going to put your clothes on and you just, it's the 10th time that I say and you don't put your clothes on, I get really upset. Fast forward a few days, she's what's taking her bath. And I say, okay, it's time to go. She didn't want to leave the bathtub. And then she asked for the alarm. So I put 5 minutes in the alarm. When the alarm beeps, that we have this strategy. Put the alarm, 5 minutes, the alarm rang. She didn't want to leave. I said, okay, now you have to get out of the bathtub. There's no way. And she got really upset. So I took her out of the bathtub and she yelled at my face. And I said, and that day was good. I was centered. So I said, I know you're frustrated. So really acknowledge what they are feeling. That's okay to feel frustrated, right? It's okay that you're frustrated, but you cannot yell at me. It's not nice. So she went to her room to put her pajamas. When she got out of the room, she said, I'm sorry I yelled. So even if you screw up, you can always make amends. That's the what I wanted to share. So when you're in the midst of strong emotions, sometimes you screw up, or most of the time you screw up. Can I say screw up?
Of course.
And you can always make amends, and that's what the kids will learn, they can make mistakes, and they learn how to make amends. So when you're in a feeling of very strong emotion, what we can do, if it's possible, you can take a break. You can say like, okay, I'm going to deal with that in a moment, and excuse yourself and take some and wait as much as you need to wait, or you can wait, and go back and address the situation.
Mm-hmm. The thing is that I am not a parent, and I cannot even imagine all the work that you parents have to do. And what I'm getting from this is that even if we're handling our stress, we are also responsible of handling our kids' stress.
Mm-hmm. And teach them something, right? How to navigate the world.
Yeah, exactly. So even because my question was, what do we do in the middle of the storm? And you referred as actually a lesson on handling the stress of your kid, which surprises me a bit, because I was asking for a very particular, like for the adult and not for the kid, but actually it makes a lot of sense.
But even for ourselves, like, what do you do when you're stressed, right? You react. Mm-hmm. So you can pick a fight with your boyfriend or girlfriend. Excusing yourself from the situation. Excusing yourself from the situation is a way to calm down. But when you have a strong reaction by yourself, like in the middle of the night, if that was your question, remember that's temporary. Remember that feeling stress is a natural feeling. It's normal. Like, life is stressful. And this is something that helps us navigate life. If we didn't have that, we would die. We would not be here. So it's temporary, and it's going to pass. And pick up your strategy, take a deep breathing. If you're not practicing, like we said, preventing, distraction is the best one. Watch some TV. Like, don't stay with strong emotions. Really distract yourself. Take your mind off it. Can really be helpful in a intense moment.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's why I was saying, like,
some strategies that we can use with ourselves and we can use with our kids. Okay, so first there's some mindfulness strategies that would be basically meditation. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness is like being in the present moment without judging yourself, without judging what you're feeling, accepting what's going on and just observing and really focusing on the present moment. We can also practice as adults with the things that we do every day. So for example, mindfulness when we're brushing our teeth, like really feel the brush, you know, like on your teeth, and how does it feel standing up? Like feel your feet. How does it feel your arm moving? You know, like really be mindful what you're doing. Can do that washing the dishes, like how feel the weight of the plates or how the temperature of the water. Really be mindful what you're doing. And always, it's always nice to go to the body. So focusing like how am I feeling standing up? Am I tense anywhere? Do I feel any tightness? And doesn't need to change anything. It's really about noticing what happened. This is a great practice because you don't need to have any extra time on your day. And it's a mindfulness practice. And what I suggest to people is that they would choose 2 things that they do every day and always do a mindful practice on those 2 things every day. So after a while, it becomes a habit. So for me, what I do, it's always going to the metro because I take a lot of public transportation. And in the metro, I don't listen to any music. I don't read any book. I practice walking to the metro and looking at the things and being mindful of like how my feet feel. And in the metro, I just sit there and just be there in the moment. You don't change the task every time. Oh, now I'm being mindful. Just keep it as a habit. Every time I'm brushing my teeth, I'm going to do my mindfulness practice. Or every time and then after, if you are very good at it and you want to change, then you change. But then it's just in your routine. You don't need to really add anything. Another great way to practice to help you manage your stress, it's a deep breathing. That it can be a mindfulness practice because you can notice your breath, but there's a lot of many techniques that change your physiology. So really, when we are stressed, the breathing is very high on your chest, like no, and short. So when you do deep breathing with your belly, that's when you have the physiological benefits of relaxing. Only if your body learns what it is to be relaxed. Because if you're always on the go, and then one day you start deep breathing when you're very stressed, it's not going to work, right? So there's many different techniques. Always focus on keeping the breath on your belly. The one that I like the most that I'm going to share with you is the 4-7-8. You inhale for 4, you hold for 7, and then you exhale through the mouth for counting to 8. That it's a great way to relax. You just do twice a day 4 times. So 4 cycles of this 4-7-8, and it takes like not even 1 minute. Deep breathing with our kids, we have to make things fun. Okay, we have to make things fun with the kids. We cannot. It's very challenging to ask them to count to 4 and hold to 7.
Or to be mindful, like.
So with young kids like my daughter, blowing bubbles is the best way because they're like. So deep breathing is always about the long exhale, right? Because when you're stressed, your breathing is very short and shallow, and you're mostly inhaling. So it's like a long exhale. So blowing bubbles is a great way. And there's another one, another technique that's ask them to lie on the floor and put a little stuffed animal, any toy on their belly that's not heavy. Usually they do with stuffed animals, but you can put a little car. It's just that it cannot be heavy on their belly, so they have a hard time. So, and then ask them to breathe with their belly so they can see the toy going up and down. So that's another way to practice deep breathing. Another technique is the progressive muscle relaxation. It's very effective. The idea is like you tense a muscle for 5 seconds and then release right away. Tense a lot, squeeze a lemon really, really, really hard with your hand and then let it go. A nice way to do with the kids, pretend that you're a turtle and you're in the sun, really happy, like relaxed, and then danger comes. So then you tuck your head in. So you really tight your shoulders and then tight your fists and your arms, and then count to 5 and then relax. So that's, we are doing just upper body here with the kids, but it's a great way to relax in the moment. So if you're feeling anxious during the night, that's a great way for you to relax your body. It really changed. It really helps with anxiety during the night, can put you to sleep with the deep breathing. And with the kids, when they are going to have a test or a presentation, that could really help them. Doing with your kids in the car, let's pretend you're a turtle, or doing with your kids before going to bed, or like find little moments on the day that you can add that.
And I believe all these methods, even those for kids that you suggested, are useful to adults as well, because, for example, not everybody is very used to mindfulness practice or meditation or stuff like that, and it's very hard for them to start focusing on actually feeling everything around. How do you feel your feet, etc., etc. So starting with all these kind of plays where you feel your toes, or you do the turtle, or wherever it is, it's even fun and creates less overwhelm to us as adults as well.
Yeah. And what I do, I when I started on this journey of dealing with my stress, that's why I became a stress specialist, because I had a lot of anxiety, and I'm happy to say that it's very well managed. I wanted to meditate every day, like very rigid, and then I discovered that I do one different thing every day. Like, I think the deep breathing is that something that I do most often, but I don't go to the metro every day, right? So the days that I go, I practice mindfulness on my way there. But when I'm not, I do deep breathing. And one day I was like, today I feel like doing a meditation. So I really, for me, what works, like mixing them up. And each day I do a different one. That's my practice, and it's okay. Like sometimes we want like to be experts on one thing, or really good on one thing, and I tried and it didn't work for me. And I just wanted to share that you can even do one different thing every day. I think again, just the deep breathing, it's something that for you to get the benefits, it's good that you practice often. It doesn't need to be every day, but often. And yeah, it takes 1 minute, 2 minutes. Yeah.
I'm super happy that you gave us all these tools, because now we are going to be able to work on it. If we are already going through anxiety or stress, we now have the tools to work on it. And if we are not going through that, we can just remember this evacuation routine of the earthquake, where we all have to practice it so we know how to do when it happens.
Yeah.
I'm also very happy that you shared how kids experience all the anxiety and how we can deal with it, and your own experiences as a mom, which I find super valuable, because I am not a mom, and I might think that everything is super normal or evident or logical, but it is not. And I actually applaud, admire, and take my hat off all parents over there who are dealing with moving into another country, having kids, and letting them know that the world is beautiful, even if we are starting a new life somewhere else, even if there are challenges, of course, even if our new friends are speaking weird languages, that as you were saying before, this is not permanent. So I thank you so much, Dani, for your time, for your expertise, and for the resources that you're sharing. And well, I'm super happy to have you as well at the board of experts. I know that we are going to still have more information from you. And if, of course, if ever someone needs more information or wants to ask more things, or wants to start working on stress management and anxiety, etc., you know that we have Dani here in our board of experts, and you can reach out to her whenever you need her. There are no excuses for you not to come. This is a very safe environment. So whenever you have a question, or whenever you feel that something is rising that you don't understand, well, we are all here for you.
Yeah, no, I'm very happy. It was a real pleasure to have this. It was a conversation, wasn't even a very, very fun conversation that I had with you. Didn't really feel like a class.
No, of course not. And
Really, really
that's the
great.
point.
Yeah, it's a real pleasure. And if anyone has any questions, please email me. Diana has all the information on the website, and I'll be happy to share more. If people are interested and excited, we can do it again. It's going to be a real pleasure. And thank you so much for the initiative of building this beautiful community and website that we are part of.
Thank you. It wouldn't exist if you were not around. Of course, I don't know everything, so that's why I go to experts so they can give us the answer. And well, thank you so much again, Dani, and see you the next time.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.